Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, the show that takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible.
Welcome to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello. I hope you're doing great and having an awesome day, whatever you're doing while you're listening to this. Today I'm going to talk to you about focusing. Because we all have goals. We all have things to focus on. We all have things that we're striving for. We're almost near the end of January now, and, we had maybe some resolutions. Maybe we've kind of fallen off a little track, that's okay. That's okay. We can get back on track. We just need to focus. And sometimes when we have, I feel like January can be a really tough month because we do have a bunch of resolutions. Well, most of us, it's like new year, new me, I'm going to do all these things. And even without trying, we kind of overload ourselves with like things that we need to focus on, and then we lose our focus. And it's hard, and then we fall off track on our goals, and then sometimes we can stay off track because we're not focused enough. And it could just be simply because we have too many things going on, But, at the beginning of January, it's like we want to get down to business. We want to focus on the things that we need to focus on. But then sometimes we can kind of just fall off track. And there's so many things that can make us unmotivated and make us, not be able to focus as easy. So today I want to talk to you kind of about, different techniques of, how we can focus better. I've kind of fallen into a pattern of doing something, and it has helped my life immensely for my focus and concentration. But I'm going to talk, a little bit about why we can't focus, and then, how to kind of tackle those things so we do have better focus. And then I'm going to jump into some more kind of tips and tricks and things that really have been working well for me, that have just, like I said, changed my life immensely with my focus and concentration. So, it's hard, like I said, we have so many different, New Year's resolutions, we have so many different goals, we have so many different things going off, and then we fall off track. Sometimes we can get stuck in a rut because we just can't, focus on the things that we need to focus on. We got too many things going on, or, maybe life threw a curveball at us, and we can't focus. Concentration, focus, attention, those are honestly the rarest of resources a lot for us. And we like I said, we have so many things going on a lot of the time, so many things that we need to focus on, but actually finding that focus and concentration can be very difficult. So why can't we focus? Well, I think now a lot in today's age, technology is a huge thing. Smartphones are giving us the attention span of goldfish, really, when you think about it. We're constantly kind of checking our phones, social media, or checking, what people are saying, what people are doing. We constantly want to post about our lives because technology, social media, smartphones, it's kind of become very apparent in our lives, in our world. And that's just how society and times are changing, and it's important. And we can build careers, we can build lots of things off of social media, off of our technology now these days, but it does kind of take away our attention span for other aspects in our lives. So I'm going to break down some 9 reasons of why maybe you can't focus. You can kind of identify these things. And the first one would be anxiety. I think this is obvious, if we are worrying too much, it's going to take up our time. We're really kind of cluttering our mind with all these different worries and things, and it blocks us from being able to concentrate on the things that we need to. Another one is burning out. If we have too many things on the go, if we have too many New Year's resolutions, we have too many goals, we have too many things we're striving for, we burn ourselves out with exhaustion and resentment. We're working hard, but we're getting less done, and therefore we're burning ourselves out, and then we can't focus because we're so overtired, we're so overworked, we're exhausted, and then we become, not our best selves. Another one is some mental health issues like depression. When you have depression, you have no motivation to focus. When you're slow, you can't really think properly. You can't focus on those things. So if you're feeling down in the slumps, this might have, a reason of why you can't focus on anything. Another one is drowning in clutter. We can only process visual information at once. Saying, you gotta multitask and all this stuff. No, do one thing at a time. When we have too many things going on, we can't focus. So think of it this way. If you are in your workspace, you're in your home, you're in your office, I don't know, wherever you are, and there's clutter everywhere, our brains are actually picking all of this up. Whether you're like a clean freak or not, we have to filter out those other things going on. If we have a ton of paperwork on our desk, but we need to work on one specific thing, that is clutter that's in our visual that is distracting us. And that's why we can't focus on those things. When there's too much going on, you just simply cannot focus. Food intolerance could also be another reason why you can't focus, because if you have a food intolerance, it actually clouds your thinking if you're eating something that you shouldn't be. A lot of the time we don't realize that we have a food intolerance to certain things, and when we start consuming those, or maybe after we consume them after a long period of time, this can actually cloud our brains and kind of make us feel foggy. Exhaustion, of course. We live in a society where coffee regularly replaces sleep. And I like to think it's because, we are driven and goal-orientated, and we want, what's best for us, and we try to, take advantage of every single minute of the day. I am definitely guilty of that. Recently, I'm like, there's just not enough time during the day to do all the things that I want to do. And, but it makes you exhausted, hence, you burn out again, right? And so when you're exhausted, you can't focus on things because your brain needs rest, your body needs rest. You gotta chill out. Another thing is when you're not sure what you're doing. If you don't have all the information you need, or you don't understand the task clearly, it's hard to focus on it then. If you have, say you're in school and you have an essay to write, but you don't quite understand what exactly you have to write about or exactly how to do it, then your brain just kind of, you just kind of let yourself be distracted. Maybe you put some tunes on and you kind of start doing something else. You kind of avoid the things that you need to do, makes you unproductive. So when you have a clear through line of what you need to do, it's easier to focus. Or you're unconsciously procrastinating. You're sucked into, different things in your life. This could be into productive procrastination, if you need to write a paper or you need to do some work thing. But hey, I'm going to vacuum instead, or meal prep, or, clean my house, or whatever, something else you need to do that you're like, hey, I'm being productive though. But really you're just avoiding the work that you don't want to focus on, or that you actually can't focus on. And then lastly, it could be a health issue, something could be affecting your brain fog because of a health issue inside of you, and that's where you really can't focus. But let's try to break things down and target how we can focus on the things that we need to. So, I think a huge thing of being able to focus on something is breaking down what you need to focus on into small little steps. First of all, go with your gut. Listen to your gut. If you break a task down and then you ask yourself how you're feeling about it, if you still feel foggy, unsure, you can't focus, then keep breaking it down. It could literally, step by step. I am a list maker. I make a list for every single thing. I make a list for my list. It is step by step. In the morning, my day planner is 6 a.m. this, 6:10, 6:10, do this, whatever it is, XYZ. I am a planner. Because in my brain, I need to break every single thing down for myself so I don't feel so overwhelmed. And, people it's different for everybody. Like, that might freak somebody out, having, like, a timed day for most of the day, or, you know, a rough outline of times. That kind of freaks somebody out. But when you do break it into small steps, like, I mean, there is no such thing as, like, too small of a breakdown. Like, as simple as open laptop, Google XYZ, blah, 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 whatever you need to do, like, simple task. By breaking those things down, you're able just to focus. Okay, I just got to focus on my one task. I need to Google this for work. I need to research this. Like, you know what I mean? If you just break it down, it becomes less overwhelming, and then you're able to target your focus on that simple thing, and then focus on the next step, and the next step, and the next step. You know, another thing that we can do is we can turn your attention inside out. Okay, so it might sound weird, but if you're worrying, you're overthinking, well, turn your brain outward. You know, it sounds weird, but it's easier said than done as well. But we have to turn our attention to the task and then block everything else out. So I find that repetition is very important, and it really helps. If we're consecutively, consistently, continuously doing something, we can kind of focus on it, you know. I'm trying to think of an example for this, but even like at the gym, and say you're at the gym and you can't focus, but if you go, okay, I got 20 jumping jacks to do, repetition over and over and over again, you can focus on that work. Or I have 50 crunches to do, you know, repetition. You're focusing on that. You're focusing on targeting your muscle group that you need to. Or like for your work, like I'm just trying to think of examples that would relate to your work or something. But when you kind of repetitively do something and you turn your attention inside out, you turn that worrying and overthinking, and you turn it outward, and you kind of repeat those things, you're able to focus on them a little bit more. I hope that makes sense. Another one would be organize your environment. This comes down with, like, you know, when you're drowning in clutter, when we have too many things going on, when we're in a messy house or a loud place. This stuff is very distracting. You might even feel, you know, like that stuff's more important. Like I said, like when you have clutter, you have things to do elsewhere, you're kind of focused on that and not your task at hand. But meet yourself where you're at. That's another thing too. You know, if there's just some days where you cannot focus, like there's just your brain, your body is telling you something. I cannot focus today. I need a break. Take a break. You have to listen to yourself and like understand that. So meet yourself where you're at. You know, if you truly can't focus, don't force yourself. Unless of course it comes consistently, you cannot focus, and that's when you start need to, you know, applying these tips and stuff to target your focus and your concentration. A good tip for this too is like just start small. Okay, like I can't focus, but like I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes to do this assignment, and then like I'll take a break. And like 10 minutes might not seem like that long, but like, hey, I'm gonna focus for 10 minutes. You know, you're giving yourself a small goal to reach. You reach that goal, you give yourself whatever, a 10-minute break, and then you go 10 minutes again. You know, you are going to be getting the task done slower, but you are getting it done. You are making progress still. So if you keep going after that, I think that is just super crucial and important. And of course, you just need to take care of yourself. I know this feels like kind of like a simple thing, and it's an obvious thing. Like, we always need to take care of ourselves, take care of our minds and our bodies, our health. But sometimes we honestly forget to check in with ourselves and like actually like be connected with how we're feeling. Like I said, like if you really just can't focus, maybe you just are really sleep deprived. You know, you're overworked, you're exhausted, and you just need a good sleep. You need to sleep in. Like maybe you can't wake up and go to the gym, or you can't wake up and go to work early like you normally do. Maybe you just need to take a sleep in, take a little break. You got to take care of yourself, because if we're not healthy and we're not in a good mindset, then we can't focus on our goals and we can't achieve those things and better the life that we want. It is time, though, for a little bit of a break, but don't go anywhere, because I'm going to jump in to something that's been, like I said, enormously changing my focus and concentration, especially in the past few months here. I've had a huge workload, and so I started doing this thing, and it's made a world of a difference. So stay tuned for that. Thank you.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast. So, like I said before the break, I'm going to give you something that's helped my life hugely, and that is listening to focus music. I swear by this. A lot of people enjoy listening to certain different musics when they do their work, whether they're writing or I don't understand how people can listen to music and read when it's like music with lyrics. Anyways, but I listen to focus music, and it has become a huge thing. A lot of companies are starting to come out with different types of focus music for certain types of things as well. Like, it's becoming very specific. It's honestly become huge for a lot of different companies. I find focus music is, if you've never really listened to focus music, I'm going to dive into kind of the scientifics of it, of why it really does help. But when you're listening to just like your regular music, a lot of it has lyrics. I guess it depends what kind of music you're into, but a lot of it has lyrics and stuff. And that is too much stuff kind of going on in your head. But companies and different things have targeted to make music specifically so you can focus. And there is a bunch of science behind it. You know, when you're younger and you're blasting your music in your room, trying to, drown out your math homework, or your mother telling you to clean your room, that was when we were younger. And then now we put our headphones on to maybe drown the chatter of our coworkers or some noises in the office or at your school or whatever the case may be, right? So now we kind of we've always tried to drown things out with music. But like I said, a lot of companies have designed music specifically to help you focus and just to simply boost your levels of focus. It can help you basically give you laser productivity. It is crazy. Some places have just come out with focus playlists. There's Spotify, iTunes, all those different things. They literally have playlists designed just to help you focus, and they break it down into different things too. There's different types of focus music. So how does this all really work? Like I said, there is a scientific reasoning behind it that does make sense. So let me break it down for you. Every moment of the day, we are being overloaded with information. We are bombarded by a variety of stimuli. Noises, tastes, temperature changes, movements, thousands of different, things flash in front of our eyes all the time. They go through our mind and they try to grab our focus and attention. And we try to tune out those things in our world, and we try to laser focus on what we need to get done. Like I said, our goals, our work, our schoolwork, whatever the case may be, your gym workout, whatever it is. So there's this thing called executive attention, and that's what allows you basically to remain sane when the world around you continues to spin, continues to go, and you're trying to focus on your task at hand. So executive attention is the process, basically it's your brain determining what things that will have your attention, and then the things that it's going to fade out. So when you encounter various different stimuli, things going on in your life, in your workplace, whatever it is, so the part of your brain called the locus coeruleus, I don't think I'm saying that right, but this part of your brain sends noradrenaline to different parts of your brain, which then determines which stimuli grab your attention. I hope that made sense. So without any executive attention, you would quite literally go insane because you have all these different various stimuli being thrown at you at once all the time that's happening, right? So you wouldn't be able to separate basically various stimuli in your life when you're going back and forth constantly. You can't concentrate on anything when you're going back and forth. So your executive attention allows you to focus on certain things. So it keeps basically certain stimuli at bay. So you're able to give your attention to the thing in front of you. Most of the time, of course. There's more scientific kind of things behind it of why you can't always focus on the thing in front of you. So with all of this kind of being said, researchers have thought, problems such as like ADHD, stress disorders, like emotional affective disorders, just like any kind of like mental disorder things, this could be a result in the malfunctioning of this part of your brain. It's not working the proper way to give you that executive attention. So when you're constantly attacked, basically, by different distractions, right? We always have different distractions, noises, sounds, people, whatever it is. Your executive attention has to fight to keep you on track. And then that's when you are resulting, in attention fatigue. Like you're tired. You cannot pay attention because you have too many things going on, even when you don't even realize it, right? And then, that distraction and your attention fatigue, it leads to your lack of focus, of course. So, rewind. How does focus music help this? Well, it's actually pretty simple. It does one thing. Focus music blocks out the distracting stimuli. And it blocks it out with one very simple thing. And that is simple music. So that's why when you're listening to music with lyrics, it can be very distracting. There's too many things going on. Okay? So there's 3 strategies that are applied to focus music. Number 1 is the music is filtered to kind of remove extreme highs and low basses and like high pitch sounds. Like those sounds that become kind of annoying over time, like your morning alarm. Or when somebody doesn't put their seatbelt on in the car and it goes beep, 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 right? The most annoying sound in the entire world. So focus music in focus music, it can be so basic that, there's not very loud basses or very low basses and there's no high pitch sounds. You're not getting irritated. So the next one would be the melody structure of the focus music, like it doesn't have, such as things that kind of rupture your attention, like pauses, breaks, major volume variations, like when it's really loud, really like super, super loud and then goes super, super quiet. Focus music can be very kind of basic and it's just, I don't want to say it's mellow because there is different types of focus music. And I found like certain types kind of benefit certain people. But the third strategy put in focus music is the complexity level. It remains constant throughout the entire musical piece, basically. It's very easy to follow. A lot of the time you kind of drown it out, honestly, because you don't, it's just so basic. But there is different types. There's different types of focus music that do have more of a bass, that have more of a beat. There's that really mellow focus music. So you kind of have to find one that fits with you. I went through a bunch of different playlists of focus music, and honestly, depending on what I'm working on, I have different focus musics for that. Like, if I'm writing a lot, I have one, but if I'm trying to, like, edit something or do something else, like, I have a different one. And so I've really, over the past few months, kind of found what works. But I swear by focus music, like, my attention span, my concentration, it's crazy. Like, it's honestly crazy the amount of work that I can get done if I'm able to just drown out everything else and put my focus music on. It does a world of a difference. So basically, to sum it up, the best music or concentration, it's relatively calm, it's straightforward, and it's without, abrupt volume changes or really high and low pitches or bass. It's simple is really what it is. Like I said, you're replacing all these various multiple stimuli that's coming at you at all times with one very basic stimuli, and that is your focus music. That is, the very simple music. But it is different for a lot of people, Like I said, I personally do have different playlists for different things, I like the more kind of ones that have a little bit more of a beat to it, a little bit more. I find myself, like, writing, and I'm, like, kind of jamming out to this, like, really simple music. I'm, like, bobbing my head, and I'm catch myself. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like, because I get so into my zone. I'm so focused, and then all of a sudden I catch myself. I'm like, I think I'm dancing while sitting in a coffee shop right now and typing on my computer. It's funny. So I really think it works. I highly suggest trying it out because, like I said, it's made a huge difference in my life. It is time for another break, though, but don't go anywhere. When we get back, I'm going to talk to you about habituation, more tips and stuff on how you can focus and be goal-orientated and make sure you get your stuff done.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, we are back, and we're going to be talking about habituation. Well, habituation, how do I describe it? So basically, when you're sitting in a coffee shop, compared to a library, think of it. When you sit at a coffee shop and it's noisy, there's people, there's lots of things going on, but you feel like you can, like, focus better inside of a coffee shop than, like, a super quiet library. Well, that has something to do with habituation. Basically, when you're suddenly having a stimuli overload, like at a coffee shop, you have all these things going on, you probably feel initially very distracted. You kind of look around, you're kind of getting used to the noises, but once you kind of get going, 10, 20 minutes into it, maybe even 30 minutes, whatever it takes, sometimes even like 5 minutes, all of a sudden the background fades and you're in your work zone. You're able to work. And it's almost like you have just like this background sound. And it has something to do with habituation. So your brain is habituated to the noise. So you're able to focus basically on what's in front of you because your brain is kind of doing something else. This works for a while, but after some time you actually feel yourself kind of growing restless, right? All of a sudden you've been working for quite a while and then you get distracted and you kind of look up and you're looking around and some noises, maybe there was like a big bang or something happened and you're going to need a break. And this is a result of your brain actually getting bored of the sounds in the room. It's funny, hey, like your brain is literally getting bored. So now it's kind of looking for more results, and that means you're kind of looking for more results too. You're looking around, you're distracted. So that's when you find yourself, scrolling through your Instagram for the millionth time that day. Your brain gets bored, just like we do. We just get bored. We just can't handle it anymore. So the stimuli that's happening in the coffee shop that's around you, your brain gets bored of eventually. And then that's when you start to fade out and you start to be distracted. So that's why things like focus music really helps you. It helps your brain not get bored. It's believed that brain waves can be synchronized to external sound waves, so such as music. So basically our brain is actually exposed to related sound waves over a period of time, but the brain waves will become kind of synchronized with the sound waves. Does that make sense? So this synchronization is actually called entertainment. So having that focus music, it is entertaining your brain. You're not bored, because just because it's a simple beat or it's a simple kind of music, simple melody, it's different. There's multiple different songs. Your brain is not getting bored, and it's synchronizing, and it's called entertainment. Basically, your brain is entertained. So the brain waves and sound waves are synchronized. So then listening to these certain types of music can lead to certain brain states, right? Like focus. Or you ever listen to music that puts you to sleep, or makes you less stressed, just makes you happy. This is because each brain state has a particular brain wave pattern. So in focus music, it allows that particular pattern that kind of mimics the brain waves that are present in the focus state, if that makes sense. So there's different states, of course, that our brain can be in. So the brain waves that come from this focus music puts you in that focus state because of the brain waves. I hope I'm describing this okay. So after listening to, focus music for some time, the brainwaves become entertained by the music. They're entrained by the music, and that's resulting you to focus better. So, just sitting in a coffee shop without any of your focus music or anything on, it might work for a little while, but your brain still will eventually get bored of those sounds. So that's why kind of focus music comes into play, and I think it's super, super beneficial. And then, of course, there's been some studies where, music stimulates creativity. So a lot of people say, I do my best writing when I'm listening to, music. And it's so true because, when we're listening to really high levels of noises, it can be super distracting. But when we have lower levels of noises, just having that, like I said, it entertains your brain and everything, right? So when you have high levels of noise and that can cause distraction, it's causing you to process the information to a lesser extent because it's distracting, right? And then we don't have high creativity because we're distracted. Our brain isn't actually putting all its power into creating the things that we need to create. But when we have a lower level of noise, obviously we're less distracted, it's moderate or lower level, then you're not as distracted, so you're able to focus significantly more, right? And then that actually affects the extent that you're processing the things going on in your brain. You're processing that creative part in your brain. So basically, moderate distraction, which, includes, processing things a little bit, it enhances your creativity by abstract thinking. So by having small distractions, by having that little noise in the back, that focus music, or just the sound of the coffee shop, or sound of even your workplace, it's that little bit of difficulty that your brain has processing information, it's actually enhancing your creative side because you're kind of abstract thinking. It's making your brain work in a different way. So let me try to sum this up. Basically, low levels of noise, like music or coffee shops, they just lead to abstract thinking. So it's the kind of stuff that makes creative things, your creative solutions. So, but when you have too much noise, when the coffee shop becomes too much, your brain is bored of all these sounds and now it's become too much, then you're not as creative. That part of your brain isn't working like it should. So the science behind focus music is actually still in the early stages. This is just kind of a sum up of some of the information that they have. But like I said, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try it. From all of these reasons that I've shared with you today, I think it does make a huge difference. I can say firsthand, like, it's made a huge difference in my life. Like, I know if I put my focus music on, I can, like, go in my zone and just do it. Maybe it's a placebo effect. Maybe it's all in my head. But when I started listening to these focus playlists, all of a sudden I'm, like, getting all this work done. So I started doing more and more research on it. And that's when I kind of found all these scientific things about it. But it all makes sense. So maybe give it a shot if you're interested. I do think it works. Or even just that form of habituation, you know, when you're sitting in a coffee shop and versus like a library. A lot of, like, automatically when we think we need to get work done, we need somewhere quiet. It's like we do, but working somewhere quiet, our brain's going to get bored very quickly. So we have to be able to have that different variety stimuli to do it, right? Like, a lot of us can't work at home. First of all, there's a lot of distractions at home, like your bed or your TV or food or your family members or whatever else, right? I need to get my work done somewhere else because it's different stimuli. So you kind of have to find out what works for you. But focusing is so important because, you know, like I said, we have so many things to get done. We have so many goals to go after. We have so many things that we want out of life, and to create that happy life that we're dreaming of, right? We have to focus on the things that matter to us and the things that we want to strive for. But so many different things can get in our way from that focus pattern, from being, you know, aligned with those things. So I just wanted to share with you today something that has really been working for me. My concentration has just gone up immensely. And then I just thought that science behind it was pretty interesting because it makes sense. You know, our brains get bored. We need to be entertained. We need to entertain them, but we have to entertain them. We have to entertain our brain in the right way so that it's simple enough that we can process that stimuli correctly, but focus on the task in front of us. I really hope that this information made sense for you today. I know it's a lot of scientific things and everything behind it, but I personally think it works so well. So I hope you give it a shot, and I hope you find that you're being more productive than you ever have. It is, like I said, close to the end of January. You know, we might have fallen off track with our resolutions, so it's time to focus and get back on track. So put your headphones in, maybe listen to some focus music, and get your stuff done, because I know you want to create a happy and healthy life. So you just got to go after it and focus on the things that are important to you. But thank you so much for listening to today's episode of GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. I had an amazing time sharing this information, especially just sharing something with you that's really been affecting my life in such a positive way lately. So I hope you do try it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and follow us on social media, and leave a 5-star review. I look forward to next time already. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find the show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast.